When Apple unveiled the M1 iMac, they pitched it as the first Mac designed from the ground up to take advantage of Apple Silicon. And at the time, I could not be more excited. We were seeing a really nice visual redesign to the iMac, a product that was kind of lingering in product design since like 2012. It didn't really get like an update, and we were waiting and waiting for like 10 years to finally get like a visual refresh to this product. And let me tell you, they nailed it. They hit it out of the park when they initially designed that M1 iMac. It came in all of these fun colors. The 21-inch model got a bigger 24-inch display. It was super thin. It looked great with the matching keyboard, the matching Magic Mouse and Magic Trackpad accessories. I mean, the attention to detail that Apple put into redesigning the iMac was honestly mind-blowing. Like, the lightning cables were color matched to the product. The power cord cables were even color matched. It had like a magnetic attachment in the back. They even did like cool things with the power brick where they put like the Ethernet port in the power brick. And you just got like a really fun looking iMac, something that harkened back to the really colorful design of the iMac G3, one of my favorite Apple product designs ever. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. The Apple Silicon future is bright because these things like on M1 were performing so good, and the iMac has a bright future ahead of it. And at the time I thought, this is the future. Like, you know, when the pro level iMac comes out, that's the Mac that I'm getting. The all-in-one future's here. And it kind of made sense for me because when you think about it, Apple Silicon was uniquely kind of in this area to take advantage of a new, thin, all-in-one design. You couldn't really put like a powerful Intel chip in there, but you could put potentially a powerful Apple Silicon chip in there. Well, this is the M3 iMac, and I'm not saying that the M3 chip isn't powerful, but I think initially what I thought was going to be the future of Mac computing, the future Mac that maybe I would buy, the Mac that I would do all my work on, I don't think I'm getting that future. And I think if you're watching this video and you were like me, kind of thinking this was the Mac you wanted, the Mac that you love to work at for years and years, it might be time to move on. And let me kind of walk this back a little bit because I still really haven't talked too much about this computer. Listen, this is the update to the iMac. And basically all that Apple did with this iMac is they took out the M1 chip that was in it, a very capable and powerful chip, and they put in an M3 chip, which is still very capable and powerful. And that's kind of all they needed to do, right? Like, when I look at this iMac design, I can't foresee like any other meaningful changes that I would have made. Like, I would not have changed this design, or I don't think they needed to change this design this quickly. I still really like this design. I still think all the colors look great on it. You know, moving up from the 21-inch display to the 24-inch display is great. You have a really nice looking display too. It has 4.5K Retina resolution, so text and everything is super sharp on it. I think the colors on this LCD display look really good. It still is an LCD display. It still has all the color matching accessories. It still has the Magic Mouse that still charges upside down. And I could forgive that. I could all forgive that. But for the one little fact here is that it still is charging over Lightning, even though Apple literally just ditched Lightning on the iPhone just 2 months ago at the iPhone event. So it's kind of like, okay, why does this thing still have Lightning? You paid so much attention to detail during the initial unveiling of this product with all the color match accessories, and it's like this product is so well thought out and you still included Lightning with it? That is something that is driving me crazy with this product. And I know it's not a big deal, right? You get the charging cable included in the box. You don't have to charge these accessories all that frequently, right? Like the Magic Keyboard and mouse and the trackpad, the battery lasts a long time on them. And it's not a big deal to plug in a Lightning port. But the fact that Apple paid so much, you know, attention to detail when they first designed this product, that's kind of the part that irks me, because it's like, come on, all you had to do is put a USB-C port on these accessories and it would have been good. And, you know, when you look at other parts of this iMac design, it's stayed the same. You know, the change here is the M3 chip. So is that M3 chip faster? Yeah, it's faster in single core performance. It's faster in multi-core performance. If you're comparing the M3 chip against, you know, the M1 chip, you're seeing some pretty significant leaps here. And it's like when you really look at the performance of this M3 Mac, it is pretty capable, right? Like if you needed to do photo or video editing, as long as you spec'd it out correctly, the starting configuration with 8 gigabytes of memory is a little constraining, but these can now go up to 24 gigabytes of memory. The old M1 could only go up to 16 gigabytes of memory. So if you actually spec this out, you know, to 24 gigabytes, you could kind of use this as like a workstation computer. You could do photo editing, you could do video editing, you could probably do some development. Like the M3, it's a very fast and capable chip. There is one downgrade though with this new M3 model, and that is if you get the 256 gigabyte model, the model I have, and that is that Apple did lower the SSD speed because they're only using one chip. On the previous M1 version, they were using two 128 gigabyte chips, so you're basically getting half the read and write speeds compared to the previous M1 iMacs, around 1600 read and write on the 256 gigabyte model for the M3 iMac, and then if you had a 256 gigabyte M1 iMac, you're getting around 3,000 read or write. So that's an unfortunate downgrade. But you can use this iMac still to get a lot of work done. Like the M3 chip, it's a very powerful and capable chip. But even though the M3 is very powerful and very capable, it's kind of, you know, this Mac isn't the right tool for professional users anymore. And, you know, as someone who used to use a 27-inch iMac to get all of their work done, it's a little bit confusing of a transition, but you know, Apple clearly, you know, isn't making the iMac for pro users anymore. For a while, the iMac was filling the gap for pro users. It was the most powerful Mac at one time that Apple literally made when they had the 2013 Mac Pro out, and they didn't update it for a while, and they kind of, you know, they said they designed themselves into a thermal corner, and then they came out with the iMac Pro, right? And that iMac Pro, at the time when they released it, was the most powerful Mac ever. And it was kind of weird because everyone's like, an iMac is the most powerful Mac? And it you know, it had like the 5K display built in. It was a really cool computer at the time because it was like, oh, this is the most powerful Mac. It's got like a built-in display. It's got great speakers. It's got fast storage. It has a ton of memory in it. And then you saw like the updates to the, even like the lower end 27-inch iMac started packing in more powerful CPUs, you know, faster graphics, even more memory. All these things that really made it great for pro use. And a lot of video editors and a lot of photo editors really sung the praises of the iMac for professional work because not only was the computer fast, but it also packed in, at the time especially, a fantastic 5K display. Like back when those iMacs were reigning supreme, it was so hard to find an equivalent display. It's still hard to find an equivalent display for Mac users, honestly. Like you really have the studio display and a few other options if you want like that 5K quality Retina display. But yeah, the iMac was it at the time. And now Apple, they have that studio display out, and their solution for like pro users is like, why not get a Mac Studio and hook it up to that? Why not get even the Mac Mini, which can be outfitted with the pro level chips, right? Like there's no M3 Pro variant of the iMac. So it feels like maybe Apple's initial desktop lineup was kind of broken for a while, right? Like they put so much weight on the iMac to take over all the responsibility of their computer lineup for like the desktops because the Mac Pro is in such a bad spot. But now it's like the opposite. Apple sells a Mac Mini, a Mac Studio, and a Mac Pro. They have two different versions of the Mac Mini too. So, you know, technically you can look at that as 4 desktop, like real desktop, no screen built in level computers that Apple is selling, where before you kind of just had like a Mac Pro and like a really weak Mac Mini. So Apple's desktop strategy here has completely shifted. They don't want pro users really using the iMac. This is now kind of like a family computer and maybe something like you put out on like a storefront. And that market of computers, like an all-in-one family computer, kind of isn't a thing anymore. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, there's families that use iMacs. My family, my mom and dad, they use an iMac at home. And I'm sure a lot of other families still use something similar to like an iMac, but the computing of like 10 or 20 years ago, where you had like a family computer and most of your computing was done there, just isn't the case anymore, right? Like this is the family computer. It's not really a family computer, it's the solo computer, right? Most people just use their phones. Most people, if they're using a computer nowadays, don't even use a desktop, they use a laptop. And this iMac, for Apple, I guess they're still keeping it around to use as a family computer. And for what it is, as a sleek all-in-one, it's still a good computer. But it might not be the right computer for you anymore. And I think that's very hard to grasp. I know even for me sitting here and coming up with this and rationalizing it, I like this Mac so much that I would love to see a higher end version that I could spec out with like an M3 Max chip. And if I could have like a 27 or 32-inch iMac with like a really nice display, like a ProMotion iMac with an M3 Max chip in it, honestly, that would be really tempting for me. I think that would end up being my desktop computer if such a product existed, but it doesn't. And I don't know at this point if it ever will. Apple recently came out and basically said, we aren't upgrading the 27-inch iMac. Now, you can read that however you want, right? You could basically go, well, they aren't updating the Intel 27-inch iMac because they're going to get rid of it and come out with a bigger iMac one day. But Apple telling people not to wait for a 27-inch iMac update, at least to me, says we're not seeing an update for a bigger iMac, at least within the next 2 years. So you can do with that information what you want. So listen, this wasn't really like a review video. It was kind of just talking about the state of the iMac. Is the 24-inch iMac still worth it? I think it depends on what you want as a consumer. Like, is this still a good computer? Yeah. Is the M3 chip fast? Yeah. Does this have a good display and good speakers and a good webcam? And does it look great on your desk? Yeah, all of that is still true. But most people buying desktop computers are using them for performance tasks. And is the 24-inch iMac the right computer for performance at this point? Is it when you look at the price of the iMac, is it the best value in computing for the Mac right now? And I think that answer is no. Still a good computer, but not filling as many roles as it used to. All right. Hopefully you liked this video. It's a little bit different, but if you did, iMac, don't turn off. You're supposed to stay on through the whole video. If you did like the video, give me a like. If you want to see more, make sure you're subscribed. And hey, I'd still like the 24-inch iMac. I love this color. Look at this thing. It's beautiful. The back of this thing looks better than the front of the other guys. Steve said that. So, hey, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.